My mom has always told me it's not what you say, sometimes it's how you act. And you speak a language and your body speaks a different language. Basically saying we have body language. After reading this chapter, I definitely understood that nonverbal communication is the body language she was talking about. When I talk, I use a lot of gestures, eye contact, and facial expressions. And my mom and sister also said the same thing. My sister said, when I'm talking to her, if we're not making eye contact, then I'll stop talking. And it's true, because I feel if we don't engage in eye contact, then we're not truly communicating, because you're not focused on what I'm saying. Like, if she was to be curling her hair and I'm talking to her, I always lose focus because I don't see her looking at me, so I know that she's not listening. Well, I don't know it, but I feel like she isn't listening. I use a lot of gestures, like, of course, the hand and body gestures. When I'm talking, if I'm, say, a small amount, I'll usually go like this, or my hands, I use a lot of hands, and I like to talk with my hands and use facial expressions if you haven't noticed already. I don't exactly know why I do it. It just kind of happens. I guess I've noticed the way my mom has talked to me, and I've adapted to the way she's talked to me, and I've picked up that sense of how she's talking. I don't exactly talk with my hands like some people. Like my friend, she was my roommate in college. When she talks, she uses her hands like up here. She's, every time she talks, she uses her hands for something. It's almost like she's using sign language, but she's not, because she's talking, and she's just so used to talking with her hands that she talks with her hands. And I'm all about the facial expressions, though. I don't like to be boring and dull and monotone. I like to keep you up and good, have a high spirit, I guess. So I use different facial expressions, and I definitely like the eye contact. That's one of the main things. I've mentioned that in a speech before, that it's all about the eye contact. If we don't have that, then we don't have a conversation. I remember learning that from early on, like kindergarten, maybe even, I don't know, but it's been a while back in grade school where I've always learned when you're talking to someone, you look them in the eye, or you're not talking to them. So that's what I learned from this chapter, and this chapter has definitely taught me a lot about the way I speak, and especially after recording this speech. I've recorded it several times, and I've looked back and I was like, at first it started off, I was just saying I use eye contact, but then after I go back and look at the speeches, I noticed that I use gestures and facial expressions. And even though I can't see my hands, I thought about it. I was like, I was using my hands a lot. So nonverbal communication is definitely important, because I feel you can read a person more when you're using nonverbal communication versus talking to someone and they're all and never show any action, or they're just dull. I feel like when they're all giddy, and you can read a person more than when they're just talking to you. Like if someone was to say, I'm sad, but don't say, I'm sad. I feel that, you can just read a person more through nonverbal communication and communication.